Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for October 10th, 2024. Well, yesterday turned out to be quite a day with some zooming to the upside in the diamonds and SPY, new record highs in both of those indexes as we awaited the news from the FOMC. As soon as we got the news from the FOMC, well, we really didn't do much of anything. We just kind of went sideways. But today we have that potential that we could really break through some of this consolidation that we have been dealing with in the market with a CPI report, or it could be maybe that event that is another wait and see until we begin the big bank earnings on Friday. So, first off, let's take a look at what happened overnight. Asian markets had a good night last night. We were pretty much green across the board, trying to come back up. Nothing major. The really big swings seem to be behind us now in the stimulus over there. China, Shanghai was up 1.32%. Hong Kong had the best of it last night, up 2.98%, while the Nikkei was up 0.26. Australia was up 0.43. South Korea and India were up as well. If we take a look at European markets this morning, European markets are starting a little bit slow today. They were mostly lower, but just recently we had the DAX go into the green by 9 points at 0.05% up. The FTSE, however, is down 0.10% lower, and the CAC is down 1.2% lower, as they're trying to figure out what the market is going to look like as well after the US CPI report. Here in the United States, all three of our major indexes are lower. Dow is looking just slightly down at 0.8%, S&P 500 down 0.15%, and NASDAQ down 0.18% as we just hurry up and wait for the data coming our way this morning. If we take a look at oil this morning, oil is trying to push back up. If we take a look at XLE, trying to push back up. Yesterday we started down in oil, then it started to recover. We're pushing on higher here this morning. Right now, oil futures up $1.20 a barrel at 74.44. Brent crude is up $1.20 at 77.78, and natural gas being just ever so slightly lower here this morning after several days of pullback into, well, maybe this support area of the chart. If we were to take a look at precious metals this morning, precious metals are looking a little bit higher. We have gold at this very moment. Gold futures up $8.40 an ounce. It has been higher than that so far this morning. We've got silver up, copper, platinum, and palladium all higher this morning in that move. And I'm guessing it would have something to do with what's going on in the dollar. I don't have a print here on this on UUP this morning, but US dollar, interestingly enough, is actually a little bit higher in dollar futures. So it's kind of interesting that we're seeing all of those precious metals moving higher here today. And you can see we've had quite a run to the upside in the dollar. And one of the reasons that's the case is we're not getting any relief at all in our bonds. The 2-year bonds are at 4.02% this morning. The 10-year bonds at 4.08%, and the 30-year bonds all the way up there at 4.35%. Even our short-term bonds are moving back up. The 3-month bonds are at 4.64%. So right now it seems that the bond market is really disagreeing with the overall market in this rally, saying that there's something wrong here. We'll have to wait and see. It's kind of opposite of each other, so I think we're kind of waiting to see what breaks first. If we take a look at the crypto markets here this morning, Crypto doing had a rough day yesterday. Bitcoin down quite a bit. This morning, Bitcoin is up $21 a coin. Ether, however, is down $19 a coin, and the majority of cryptos are lower. So, what does all that mean for today? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Thursday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. What a wild day we had yesterday. The market, once it broke through this resistance, the market kind of got the zoomies, and we really pushed to the upside. Now, we'll have to see if these big runs to the upside will be justified once we get some of the data here today, whether or not we'll be able to hold these breakthrough levels. So first off, if we take a look at the diamonds, remember we want to look at these indexes without bias. We want to look at these indexes for what they are, not for what we want them to be. And what I've been saying over and over and over is that diamonds is definitely in a bullish pattern. It's Diamond SPY and QQQ all remain in bullish patterns. So as we take a look at this chart today, breaking through this resistance here in the chart, we didn't quite make it up to that all-time high print in the Dow, but we certainly broke through this box to the upside. And pushing through that upside, well, if the bulls can continue to find inspiration today, then I would look for that area right there to see if we can pop through that, and beyond that, we are at blue skies here in the diamonds. So could be fairly critical on the data this morning how the market reacts, and boy, I think your guess is as good as mine as what that might be. Now, if the bears were to find inspiration here today, and that is certainly possible as well, when we see these bonds going up, something is out of sync with this expectation here of rates. So watch that carefully. If the bears were to find an inspiration, pushing back down below there would probably raise some concern for the market. That we would see everybody that kind of chased in yesterday would be looking for a way out, maybe pretty quickly, if we were to break back down below there. If we were to give up the low of yesterday's candle, fear, I think, might start coming up into the market, and of course breaking down below that support level, of course, would raise maybe some considerable fear on that full reversal if that were to occur. Now, I'm not suggesting that's going to occur at all. We just want to be watching for that possibility if the bears find reason to engage today. Pushing on down here would make that much worse, and of course breaking below there, I think we might have potentially a little panic in the market. If we take a look at our SPY, good strong move yesterday as well, breaking through this box. Finally, we've been waiting, finally breaking through this. Now the question is, can we continue to follow through on this move? So if the bulls find inspiration here today, blue sky above and no limits up there on the S&P 500. If the bears, however, were to find some inspiration, it's not quite as serious here in the Dow because we have a little bit more in price action in here other than just one great big giant candle. A push back here to test this area of support could be possible. Breaking back down into that box might raise a little bit of worry, concern, but notice we've got a couple more candles in here that could provide us a little bit of price support, and of course that upside trend. If that were to fail, that's where we might start bringing in a little bit of worry, start pushing back down toward this support area in the chart. Now that's a pretty substantial area of price support. So if we were to break down through there, I would say probably a little bit of fear would come into the market, pushing that on down. And then if we take a look at our QQQ, well, QQQ had a really good couple of days pushing up, but unfortunately we're still in that same chop zone. That chop zone starting right over into here and of course into here. If the bulls can find inspiration to follow through on this today, then pushing up we might start pushing up into some of these areas right in here, testing some of this resistance right through that area. Drew that line just a little bit high, but if we can push through there, then we're up here testing all-time highs, and then of course a blue sky breakout. So we're going to need something good maybe to push us up through there. If the bears, however, were to find inspiration, once again, I'm just going to start backing this down through these candles, pushing that back into here. We've got a little support in this area. If we hold above that, no problem. But if we break into this, we'll start coming on down and maybe even coming back in here to test the lower side of that range. And fear would probably start to creep up if we were to break this trend and push on lower. I have no idea which way we're going to go today, so please understand, I'm just trying to lay out the possibilities. If we take a look at our IWM is the most bearish of the indexes. Yesterday it didn't participate in that move to the upside. You can still see we are moving in a downtrend, albeit we are consolidating here. So if the bulls were to find inspiration, we first need to push up through that downtrend. We need to deal with some of this price resistance in the chart, start pushing that through, and I think there's every reason to believe that could be possible today with the data. Pushing on through all of this, we might be back up here testing this high in the chart, and then beyond that we're looking up here at the resistance of the 2021-2022 highs. So keep an eye on that. Now if the bears were to find inspiration today, you can certainly see this downtrend in here. We've got a little bit of price support right here. If the bears were to engage on this, pushing down into here, we might come down and test the low of that candle area. You notice that transfers a little bit over into here as well. And then we might fall into this gap right here, coming back to test this upside trend. If that trend were to fail, if we were to push on through, that's where I think a little bit of fear would come into the market. Now, if we take a look at our VIX yesterday, we did pull back on this move. But here's the thing, we saw those moves in the market as being extremely bullish, but we didn't really relieve this fear. We pulled back a little bit. We came back into some price support in that, but we didn't really change that fear aspect in the chart. So if we can get bullish follow through today to the upside, we need to see this area start to break down. We need to see that fear start coming back down into this area. We have to keep in mind we're still up here at 20 handles, almost 21 handles in the VIX, which doesn't exactly say that we are super comfortable with the market, but maybe it's just because we're anticipating these big reports today or the beginning of earnings on Friday, and there's that uncertainty keeping that fear higher. So we need to start seeing that break down. If the bears were to engage from here, holding a support level in here and pushing up, that might be a little bit of worry, and that's why I say the panic could come into the market pretty quick if we start reversing those big moves yesterday back down. So watch that carefully. If we take a look at our T20s, our T20 122 did make a nice move back up yesterday. Whoops, sorry, that's a 2-day. Did make a nice move back up yesterday. Got back above this 50% area here in the chart. So if the bulls find inspiration, remember, we could still push all the way back up here toward that bearish reversal zone. Now, keeping in mind, we also have this downtrend. So if we come into contact with the downtrend and reverse, well, then we've got a problem here. But if the bears were to find inspiration here today, notice we've got pretty good upside potential, pretty darn good downside potential as well if those bears were to find inspiration. So it's kind of like we're unsure about what's going to happen here, and so we're kind of straddling the fence. If we take a look at our T2108, whoops, the percentage of stocks above the 40-day moving average, and this is where my concern lies. While we zoomed in the diamonds and SPY, this is interesting to me that very few stocks made it back up above their 40-day moving average. We had kind of a lame push to the upside here on the number of stocks going above their 40-day. Now, typically you would see in such a zooming move to the upside that there would be much more background in here to show that support or show that enthusiasm for that push to the upside. Maybe that corrects today, but for now, it is not showing that enthusiasm. And if we went up, but just barely, if we take a look at T2107, we went up, but once again, just barely. We didn't really get that enthusiasm with percentage of stocks going above the 200-day either. And I'm guessing it has something to do with the fact that while the market was zooming up, bonds were going up yesterday afternoon after the Fed minutes. Bond yields were going higher. Now, it could just be that concern about what these numbers could be, and we could quickly see those come down. But these two things don't match. There's a problem here someplace, and I don't know which one is going to break first. If we take a look at our T2101, our T2101, as we were zooming up in the Diamonds and SPY, I want you to notice here that our market breadth continued to fall. We were not getting breadth follow through even on those zooming moves to the upside. So something is out of whack here. We'll just have to watch and wait to see if that bullishness that came in yesterday actually gets that enthusiasm follow through here or not. Remember, the blackout period is we're in total blackout at this point as we get ready for the first round of earnings reports on Friday. So watch that closely here. Doesn't quite make sense to me, but doesn't have to make sense, I guess. I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen if the next shoe drops. Now, let's take a look at what we've got going on that economic calendar here for today. First off, we're going to be dealing here with a CPI report this morning. CPI, they are expecting in consensus that the month over month goes from a 0.2 to a 0.1. So we continue that little decline here on those consumer prices. So that would be bullish, I would think, for the market and could inspire those bulls higher. If that happens to miss, of course, that's where the worry is. And of course, with the jobs number last time coming in so hot, that's, I think, what the concern is here. What if this number comes in hot? We've got the CPI year over year coming in at 2.3. They're expecting that to decline as well by 2 ticks. We're looking at ex-food and energy to decline by 1/10 and ex-food and energy year over year to remain flat. So keep a close eye on that CPI number. It could be that catalyst that either finally breaks through some of these resistance areas in these indexes or could disappoint the market pretty quickly. Then we're going to have those jobless claims. Jobless claims are looking for that little creep to the upside, going up by 1,000 in the consensus. Watch that closely. This is another one that can move the market dramatically, particularly if the number were to miss or to come in hot. And so we'll want to watch that closely. Now, after that, we don't have a whole lot to worry about. We've got Cook, we've got Barkin, natural gas report, we've got Williams. We're going to have a 30-year bond auction, which could be interesting since we're seeing those bonds really run back to the upside, adding pressures in here. We've got Treasury statement and Fed balance sheet at the end of the day, which probably nobody's going to pay attention to. And then, of course, as we look into Friday, we've got the PPI number that will be coming out. Producer prices will be coming out. Several Fed speakers, consumer sentiment, Baker Hughes rig count, And then, of course, we're going to have the beginning of big bank reports. Now, this morning on the earnings calendar, we've got a few notable reports this morning and then nothing this afternoon to be concerned about. First off, Delta Airlines reporting this morning, and Delta moving lower. However, they believe things will improve for them. This is a bit of a double top in here on Delta, so watch that carefully here today. We've got Domino's moving just a little bit lower here this morning. Pretty much flat, I'd say, on the day. NEOG reporting this morning as well. Looks like that, at least at the moment, is getting a little bit of a negative reaction on the report. And Telray Brands reporting, and not much going on there as well. So those are your notables for today. This afternoon, no notable reports. We'll be just really thinking about those big reports coming in Friday morning. So keep an eye on that. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube. Also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. If you find these videos to be useful, if you could do me that favor, click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment, and thank you so much for everyone who does do that. Some wonderful comments yesterday, really humbling comments. Thank you so much, everyone. Your support of this channel really means a lot to me, and I truly, truly appreciate it. Let's take a look at some of these stocks setting up. Remember, everyone, these aren't recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence and be very careful. Obviously, today, anything is possible. And of course, heading into the next round of bank earnings, that's also anything possible. So be very, very careful. There's a whole lot of emotion, a whole lot of uncertainty for this market to face. So just watch carefully. First off, if we take a look at AT&T here. AT&T, after this big run to the upside, kind of interested in this again. I made some really nice money on this from this recent move to the upside. You can see we're kind of resting and consolidating here that big move after breaking through. So as this continues to consolidate across here and chop around, I might be watching for that next opportunity over here to pick up some AT&T. Now this would be more of a passive type trade because of the big dividend yield in here, but then just looking for that to continue this move to continue to grind on higher and good strong dividend paying at that time. If you want something a little bit faster moving, take a look at TMUS. T-Mobile has really made a big move to the upside. Now I think this needs a little consolidation or rest right now, but look for that next opportunity perhaps in TMUS. If we take a look at Pinterest, beautiful little pattern here. I think I mentioned this yesterday. Beautiful little consolidation pattern in here. Yesterday it found that inspiration popping in through the upside. I'd keep an eye on that. I think there's every reason to believe that could continue higher. And I'd put a target up here around that 200-day moving average on this move, at least for the initial move to the upside. So watch that carefully here on Pinterest. McDonald's didn't get it going yesterday. It tried a couple of times, popped up there, still resting in this nice consolidation pattern. I'd keep an eye on that. Take a look at the financials here yesterday. They stretched hard up here, trying to push up to this triple top pattern here in the chart. A lot of anticipation on those big bank reports. Be careful in here. This is looking bullish. There's those higher lows in here, so we've got an ascending triangle. Watch that carefully. We'll see if we actually get enough energy to pop that out here prior to those earnings reports, but I would be really careful over trading in this sector with several big banks tomorrow, and then we really ramp that up next Tuesday. So watch that carefully. Take a look at things in this area of the market. DoorDash really consolidated. Nice tight consolidation coming back here to trend. If we can get some bullish inspiration in the market, we would have a low risk potential entry into this. Pushing up, your stop would go underneath this area, pushing right on through. And if you look over here, I've got a target up in here around 152. Would be that next upside move, so about a 10-point move possible in there if that can trigger off. Take a look at CVS. CVS has made an amazing run to the upside, filled this entire gap coming into resistance. Now, I wouldn't want to chase this here. I would look for a pullback, a rest, a consolidation, something like that. Look for the next potential entry into that trade. Take a look at Chewy. Now, I have a little bit of a bias on Chewy because I am holding this. I'm actually holding it as a longer term trade as well. But Chewy finally got going here again and pushed back up through this resistance in the chart. So any rest or pullback in here that holds, if we can continue with that bullishness in the market, we might see that starting to move on higher. Looking at this on a longer term chart is what I'm doing, and you can see that is a very bullish pattern on that weekly, trying to push on a back up through. So keep an eye on Chewy. If you take a look at Roku continues to look very good, pushing through to the upside. And as far as that goes, on the same streaming idea, Netflix had a really good couple of days here, breaking through resistance yesterday, looking very bullish, and there's every reason to believe that that could continue moving on to the upside. So watch that closely. I would be really careful here with all of the legal problems that Google is having, the potential breakup that the government is talking about. We broke down below this longer term trend here in the chart. We had done it before but recovered it. But boy, the news really seems to be piling up here on Google. I would watch that carefully. This pullback in here, if it rallies back and finds resistance and then shows failure, I think that could set up a potential short. So watch that carefully here in Google. Remember, we want to look at all the possibilities here in the market, and so if we were to get some bearishness going into the market, then we want to be able to take a look at some stocks that could have some bearish opportunity to the downside as well, so that we could participate in that move. If we take a look at like CBOE here, CBOE also drifting here back down a little bit. We've lost this upside trend. We've been consolidating here. We're waiting on something. But here again, if our market were to turn bullish, I would keep an eye on this. We could stretch this on down here in the chart. There's not too terrible many of those that look really bad in the market right now. So it's not like I'm considering everything to be bearish. I'm not considering that at all. Just showing you that there are some opportunities to the other side if the market does decide to roll over. So with that, everyone, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. Thanks so much for being here. Fingers crossed that today's the day we might get some inspiration here in the market, might see a little bit of breadth. If it's not today, perhaps it's coming on Friday. So buckle up and get ready for some volatility. Y'all be safe, be careful. And by the way, for any of you folks that might be listening in Florida, those of you that have power, certainly thinking about you and the devastation of that hurricane that came through. Hope everything goes well. It looked pretty ugly as I was watching some of the reports last night. Pretty darn ugly, and there's going to be an awful lot of distraction on that today as well, even in the market, as those estimates of damage are probably going to be historic. So hope everyone is safe. You take care. We'll see you right back here bright and early Friday morning. I wish you all the best.